Happy morning. Happy morning. It is truly my privilege to be here for the inauguration of the 25-day Entrepreneurship Development Program here organized by the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of KGiSL College of Arts and Science in coordination with and support by Vicky ladies. When Mrs. Sri Vaishnavi Anush invited me to be part of the event today, I hesitated actually initially, as I always do when invited to speak about entrepreneurship, and I have reasons for that, which will become obvious as you listen to me the rest of my speech here. But then I am very happy, nevertheless, to have accepted to be here and understand the wonderful program that's been put together for the benefit of future entrepreneurs. My heartfelt felicitations to the leaders of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell, Dr. Rajendran, Dr. Ashok, for your wonderful work that you put together in keeping this as one of the long-running programs for developing entrepreneurs developing entrepreneurship among your students. I understand this year has been the largest so far, and I'm sure that this credit should go to both KGiSL as well as Flow, to all the Flow members. The increase in membership obviously is great because of your efforts as well. Dr. Krishna and Dr. Rajendran spoke very well about the need for entrepreneurship. India, obviously, with its billions, we have a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of aspirations to be met, and therefore I'll be provocative in saying I think entrepreneurship is for everyone. You will hear many speakers say entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I'll go ahead and say it's meant for everyone. Because in India we need this to happen. If programs, there must be hundreds of such programs happening simultaneously across the nation. If we have to make a difference in the quality and the quantity of entrepreneurship that happens in this country. The analogy is like mining, right? When you do mining, you have to sift through 1,000 kilos of dung to get to the gold. But unless you do that, you can't get the gold. And in the same analogy, I think we need to really trigger as many students as possible, especially students, even while they're in academics, to aspire to become entrepreneurs. Interestingly, we also, in the midst of receiving strong signals from the government, all of you have heard about the Startup India initiative. The government of India has put out a 10,000 crore fund that's a very small fund, actually, as a matter of fact. Especially given that 90% of all entrepreneurship efforts will eventually die, notwithstanding that skepticism, the amount of funds that are required is much more than 10,000 crores, but nevertheless, something is better than nothing. And from the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, the entire government is pushing this initiative, keeping this in mind, that entrepreneurship is what will have to be at the forefront of India's policy making and in terms of support to encourage more economic growth in this country. So you couldn't have had a better time to want to be an entrepreneur, because in the past there was always the issue of who's going to fund, who's going to provide the finance. And with this 10,000 crore fund, I think all of you should aspire to see how you can make best use of that finances to launch your initiative. For a show of hands, how many of you here are students? Raise your hands. Okay, how many of you are not students in this program? Okay, good. So it's a good mix. For those of you who are here as students, this is something I also heard Mr. Krish Gopalakrishnan of Infosys say, that you're all belonging to the millennial age apparently. You know, I belong to a different generation. You are called the millennial age for whatever it's worth. The in thing, the smart thing, rather the fashionable thing today among millennials is, and this is according to Krish Gopalakrishnan, is that students, graduates must fail at being an entrepreneur before they graduate. Another provocation. You should pass in all your academics, but you should have failed as an entrepreneur even before you graduate. Of course, this is said to everybody, and probably only 1% respond, and that's perfectly fine. It's that 1% will make a big difference to the Indian economy and Indian enterprise as well. So for all of you students who have joined this program, you are following along that advice, and it's very powerful advice, and that's very meaningful advice to all of you. And that is because when this is a scenario, especially coming from the technology side of things, I believe the amount of convergence happening, the amount of technology that is coming out into the world today, both small and big companies are looking for entrepreneurial-minded employees to join them. And therefore, it doesn't have to be dichotomy, whether I'm going to start a business, what do I happen to the opportunity that I'm giving up. You know, Dr. Rajendra mentioned about that. Be an entrepreneur, fail as an entrepreneur, because it's okay to fail at a young age, because you will get up and, you know, have the energy and the enthusiasm to rise up, because that energy and enthusiasm, whether you like it or not, actually diminishes as you age. That does not mean that age is a barrier to entrepreneurship. Subrato Bagchi is one of the well-known entrepreneurs who actually came out with Grow, Start and Mindtree, and I have his book here. He started and became an entrepreneur, grew Mindtree to $1 billion company when at the age of 42. But nevertheless, when you're young, you should fail fast, and therefore progress further. So entrepreneurship is for everyone, especially for you, for the students who are still yet to finish your graduation. It is the right thing to do. It's the millennial thing to do. So go for it. But it's my personal philosophy. Okay, it's good for the economy. It's good to be sifted and become part of the gold. But what about the gunk? You know, if you're part of the failed 90%. I think ultimately, I believe whether you agree whether entrepreneurship is for you or not, transformation is important for you as a higher education student. And my premise is that you undergo maximum transformation when you aspire to be an entrepreneur. What is transformation, effectively, right? As Sadhguru of Isha Yoga says, it's to come alive. I think to be an entrepreneur, to be alive as an entrepreneur, you have to come alive. You have to be alive almost every moment of the time. You have to be alive to read the patterns on the wall. You have to be alive to be flexible. You have to be alive to seize the moment, so to say. So I think by you choosing to be an entrepreneur, you actually are setting up yourself for maximum transformation, and that's what I think ultimately education is about. So it's the right time to be an entrepreneur. It's the right thing to do if you desire for maximum transformation, personal transformation at your personal level, and that's what the country needs as well. I want to share some of the moments, seize the moments that I've had in my journey as an entrepreneur, and hopefully that will also convey some of the insights that I want to convey today. One of my earliest successes as an entrepreneur was in starting a medical transcription company. By the way, we don't do medical transcription anymore. Although we have, because of our early start and the pioneering role we did, there are at least 50,000 medical transcriptionists in Coimbatore today, either working from home or working for organizations. When I started it, this is way back in 1998, 99, medical transcription was not known even as a career in Coimbatore or for the country as a matter of fact. It was not, I look at all the wonderful program that you've been put across for 25 days. I never attended an entrepreneurship program. I just happened to be at a conference which is called its short form is HIMSS, Healthcare Information Management System Society or something. It happens in Chicago every year. I happened to be on travel and I saw this conference and I just went in, grabbed a badge, went around the booths. It was probably the last day. And by luck and by accident, I walked across an aisle. I went and met somebody there, and we got talking about what they had to offer. And he said, look, we are really wanting to start a medical transcription company, and India is a big part of our strategy, and we're looking for partners. No invitation, nothing. I just happened to be there. I looked at from the conversation I had for half an hour, 40 minutes at that time. I knew in my heart that this is a good opportunity, given that my dad was already a doctor running KG Hospital, and I obviously was interested in information technology. I intuitively guessed this is a good opportunity. And look, guys looking for an Indian partner. What more can you ask? So I seized that moment in some sense. Some of these decisions you have to make intuitively. And that was one thing led to the other, and in about 18 months we had 1,500 transcriptions working for us. Ignorance is bliss. We never knew how to grow this business, and like I told you, transcription was not known. It was not that we had a role model of how this should be done, how it should be grown, what kind of training has to be done, etc. Still, we seize the moment. I think these are some of these moments will come across in your life, and for better or worse, I'm not saying every moment that you seize will be a success, but you will know it in your gut when you see the opportunity, and you should seize it. That actually has been like I said, although we don't do transcription, the skills and the capabilities that we built by that initial effort has continued to stay in great force and strength for us. And today, KG Information Systems runs one of the largest, longest standing international. That's something that, like I said, you should seize the moment, and when it comes, don't let excuses like I don't know what this is, I don't know anybody to ask how to do this well. If you seize the moment, you will find the right help coming from different directions. The second seize the moment for me was while we were going along building this IT company, IT BPO services company. We were focused also on the IT services space, which is really where my heart is in developing software and developing solutions for that meet business requirements. I found that there was a need for providing software for investment banks. Actually, my own uncle, Mr. Balasundram, runs Coimbatore Capital. One of the vendors, one of the software vendors to his company had fallen sick, and it had to be, he was looking for somebody who might be willing to take up and run that company, because his own business was based on the software. And at that time, it was not just intuition that led me to wanting to take up that opportunity, but it was also knowledge that as a software company in already a crowded market where Infosys, TCS, all these companies were there, we needed to find the right strategy. And one of the strategies that I had been told was that you have to find a niche, especially in consulting and when you're in the service business. And what I realized that by servicing this local broking company in Coimbatore, I would have access to the leading investment banks across the world. If we did things right for a local service company, company in the financial services, it would lead to many things across the world, and that's actually panned out well. So finding a niche is extremely important, because you as an entrepreneur are constrained by your own personal resources, personal energies, the team members that you can bring to bear on the business. You cannot spread yourself thin, especially when you're small. And servicing a niche does not also means that you're making the choice to be highly profitable versus being highly growth oriented. And the choice that I made, I personally was comfortable with, was to choose a niche which would challenge us, and actually companies like Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, these are all our customers today in the Indian market. And these are the firms that invest heavily into technology, and they constantly push us to want to get more out of their vendors. And in a sense, our customers have chosen us because of the reliable software we've given them, but at the same time they've endorsed us because of the responsiveness in which we have stood up to their requirements. So the second seize the moment was that in choosing a modest opportunity locally, at the same time that flourishing to give us visibility across the world in the global financial banking system. And sometimes you have to seize the moment by seizing the right niche opportunities, a niche opportunity which both gives you room to grow as well as room to grow profitably. The third seize the moment for me was completely unrelated to IT, by the way. But then when around 2005-2006 was the time when we were scanning the opportunities to see where else we should be looking at, and that's when we came upon the SEZ Act, Special Economic Zone Act. It was announced in 2005-2006. And at that time there was no special economic zone in Coimbatore, so we launched that, and it was again no background in infrastructure development, no idea of the kind of travails that we will go through to set up a special economic zone with cooperation or lack of cooperation with the state government or the central government. But one thing led to the other, and seizing that moment meant today that we run one of the largest special economic zones, providing 25,000 jobs in the IT field, and as of today crossing about 7,000 crores in exports. I guess the insight out of this seizing the moment is that I think you should be scanning for opportunities. One of the things about being an entrepreneur also is to look for flexibility. We looked at this opportunity and said the disruption really came from a government regulation, right? I mean, there were no special economic zones before we started this. And so when you look at government making some announcements, government announcing some special schemes, like this exactly, this Startup India 10,000 crores is another signal, the way this, the SEZ was a signal in 2005. You as an entrepreneur should be brave, and move forward and grab those opportunities. Today is an auspicious day. February 8th is apparently very unusual to have an Amavasya in the month of Taima something or other. And Tiruvona Natchatram. Both the EDC and Flo could not have picked a better day to, even if they decided to do that. On this auspicious day, I want you to, whether you are here by design or by accident, all of you participants, you are starting something very powerful on this auspicious day. My quote that I always keep in mind is a Latin quote: life is short, craft is long, opportunities are fleeting, experience is treacherous, judgment is difficult. And that is the life of an entrepreneur. That's perfectly sums up what you go through as one. Nevertheless, seize the moment, feel the fear, and do it anyway. I wish each and every one of you participants here, may God bless you with the best of luck, best of health, happiness, and prosperity, and wish you the best. Thank you.